Most people with joint pain are already eating several of the foods on this list, just not enough of them, not consistently, and not in a way that actually reaches the tissue where the damage is happening. That gap is fixable, starting tonight with things that are probably already in your kitchen. 15 foods with real peer-reviewed evidence for reducing joint inflammation, slowing cartilage breakdown, or both, not supplements, not powders, actual food. And most doctors aren't talking about it, not because it doesn't work, but because nobody gets reimbursed for prescribing a can of sardines. Number 9 on this list, most people are eating the wrong part. The part they throw away has the highest concentration of the active compound. That changes after today. Here is what I kept seeing 30 years at the bedside. People in real pain, eating foods every single day that were quietly making it worse. Not junk food, normal meals, things they thought were fine. The research on this has been sitting in journals for years. Most of it never makes it past the waiting room. Nothing here replaces your doctor, but the evidence is real. 15 foods, what each one does and how to use it, starting with the one most people have completely backwards. All right, we start with the obvious one. And I know what you're thinking. Clara, I've heard about fish oils. I know, but hear me out, because most people are getting this wrong in a very specific way. Inside the fat of cold water fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, there are 2 compounds called EPA and DHA. Now, your body doesn't make those on its own in any meaningful amount. You have to eat them. And here's what they do. Think of joint inflammation like a neighborhood alarm that won't shut off. The sirens are going, the lights are flashing. Your body sent the first responders. That's the inflammation response, but nobody told them the emergency is over. So they just keep going, tearing things up. EPA and DHA, the omega-3s in fatty fish, they work like the dispatcher who finally calls off the alarm. Specifically, they shift the production of what are called prostaglandins, little chemical messengers your body makes that either turn up pain and swelling or turn them down. The omega-3s push that balance toward quiet. Multiple meta-analyses. Those are studies that pool together dozens of other studies, which makes them about as reliable as the science gets, confirm that regular fatty fish consumption is associated with reduced joint tenderness and morning stiffness. Not eliminated, reduced. That matters, especially for folks dealing with rheumatoid arthritis. Now, here's where most people fall short. Canned salmon and canned sardines count. They're not inferior. The omega-3s are intact and bioavailable, meaning your body can actually use them. So this doesn't have to be expensive. Aim for 2 to 3 servings a week. That's what the evidence consistently points toward. And if you're eating salmon, bake it with a drizzle of olive oil and a squeeze of lemon. Don't fry it. High heat damages the very fats you're trying to preserve. I keep sardines in my pantry at all times. Sometimes I'll eat them straight from the tin with a slice of sourdough and a few sliced tomatoes. Quick, and honestly, the older I get, the more I appreciate a meal that actually does something for me. Now, turmeric. I know it's everywhere right now. Every wellness brand in the country has put it in a capsule and marked it up 400%. But before it was trendy, it was a root. And as a root, it's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for joint and digestive support for well over 3,000 years. That's not nothing. The compound doing most of the work is called curcumin, and what curcumin does, in plain language, is walk into your body's main inflammation control room and politely flip off 2 of the biggest switches, NFKB and COX2. Those are the systems that, when they're running hot, keep your joints swollen and painful. A 2016 meta-analysis, that pooled studies type again, found curcumin extract to be effective for reducing knee osteoarthritis pain versus placebo. And one of the individual trials within that analysis directly compared curcumin to ibuprofen and found comparable results, not replacing it necessarily, but holding its ground against a pharmaceutical. That's worth knowing. Here's the catch, though, and this is the part most people miss. Curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed. Your body processes it so fast it barely gets into the bloodstream. It needs help, and the help it needs is black pepper, specifically a compound in black pepper called piperine. When you combine the 2, turmeric and a pinch of black pepper, Absorption can increase by up to 20 times. This isn't folk wisdom anymore. It's documented in the research literature. The creator designed these plants to work together. I find that humbling, honestly. Here's how I use it. Every morning I make what I call my golden milk. Though in my kitchen it's less fancy than that name sounds. It's warm milk. I use whole cow's milk from a neighbor's farm, but any milk works, with a teaspoon of turmeric, a good crack of black pepper, and a drizzle of honey. A small amount of healthy fat, olive oil, coconut oil, whole milk also helps with absorption. Curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning it travels better in the company of fat. I also add it liberally to soups, roasted vegetables, rice dishes. There's no need to be precise. A generous pinch in any cooked dish with a little pepper every day is more powerful than any expensive capsule you'll find at the health food store. Ginger and turmeric are botanical cousins, same family, and they work together beautifully. But ginger earns its own spot here because it targets a slightly different part of the inflammation system. There are compounds in fresh ginger called gingerols. When you cook or dry ginger, some of them convert to shogalls, a different form that's actually more potent in certain ways. Between the two, ginger covers two inflammation pathways at once. It blocks both COX2, the one turmeric also targets, and a second one called 5-LOX, which is involved in a different chain of inflammatory signals that COX2 blockers alone don't touch. Think of it like this. Your inflammation system has multiple alarm bells, not just one. Turmeric quiets one of the louder bells. Ginger quiets two. Together, the house gets a lot quieter. Multiple clinical trials, including a well-regarded study published in Arthritis and Rheumatism, have found that ginger extract contributed to reduced pain and improved physical function in participants with knee osteoarthritis. Not a cure, an evidence-based reduction, at doses achievable from cooking. Fresh ginger is best, in my opinion. I keep a knob of it in my refrigerator and grate it directly into soups, stir-fries, and my morning tea. Ginger tea is simple. I take about a 1-inch piece, roughly the size of your thumb, peel it, slice it thin, and simmer it in 2 cups of water for 10 to 15 minutes. Then I strain it into a mug. A little raw honey if you want sweetness. The longer you simmer, the more the gingerols convert to shogalls, the more potent form. Some mornings out here, the fog is still sitting on the furs when I wake up. I'll combine ginger and turmeric in the same cup, a little pepper, a little honey. It's become as automatic as coffee used to be, back in my hospital days. More useful, too. Tart cherries. Not sweet cherries, specifically the sour Montmorency variety. I grow a small tree at the edge of my property, and I'll tell you, it earns its spot every single year. The color is the clue. The deep red-purple pigment in tart cherries comes from compounds called anthocyanins, and those anthocyanins do something particularly interesting for joints. They lower the level of uric acid in the blood. Now, why does uric acid matter? Because when it builds up above a certain level, think of it like sediment collecting in a pipe. It forms sharp, needle-like crystals that deposit in joint spaces, particularly the big toe, the ankles, and the knees. That's gout. And it is as painful as it sounds. A 2012 study published in Arthritis and Rheumatism, that's a serious, peer-reviewed journal, found that cherry intake was associated with a 35% reduction in gout attacks. Participants who combined cherries with allopurinol, a standard gout medication, saw a 75% reduction. That's a remarkable synergy between food and medicine. Worth knowing, folks. Here's how I use them. Fresh tart cherries are seasonal, late June through August in most of the country. When they're here, I eat them freely. The rest of the year, I use 2 things: unsweetened tart cherry juice and dried tart cherries. The juice. Look for 100% tart cherry, not a cocktail blend loaded with sugar. About 8 ounces. That's roughly a cup. Once a day is what the research protocols typically used. I drink it in the evening. Some people say it also supports sleep, and honestly, I haven't argued with that. Dried tart cherries. Add them to oatmeal, to grain salads, to your morning yogurt. About a quarter cup a day is a reasonable amount. They're sweet enough that you don't feel like you're taking medicine. Olive oil. I know, another familiar one. But there is something specific happening in high-quality extra virgin olive oil that most people have never been told about, and it changes how you should think about your cooking fat. There's a compound called oleocanthal. It was discovered when a researcher noticed that extra virgin olive oil gave the same throat sensation as ibuprofen, that slight catch at the back of the throat. Turns out they share a mechanism. Oleocanthal inhibits the same COX enzymes as ibuprofen, not as strongly, but it's present every single time you drizzle good olive oil on your food. That's not folk medicine, that's chemistry. And every time you replace a pro-inflammatory cooking fat with real extra virgin olive oil, you're making a measurable choice for your joints. The key is quality. The bottle has to say extra virgin. The darker and greener the oil, the more polyphenols it contains. Pale, light-colored olive oil has been refined down to near nothing in terms of active compounds. I use it on everything that doesn't require high heat. Salad dressings, drizzled over finished dishes, on bread. At very high heat, it degrades, which is why I keep it for lower temperature cooking and raw application. For high heat frying, I use avocado oil. But finishing a dish with a tablespoon of good olive oil, that's something I do every single day. Walnuts. Now, this is one I want you to pay attention to if you don't eat them already, because the combination of compounds in walnuts is genuinely exceptional for joint health. First, they contain ALA. That's the plant-based form of omega-3 fatty acid. Less potent than the EPA and DHA in fatty fish? Yes, your body has to convert it, but still anti-inflammatory in its effect, especially over consistent daily intake. Second, walnuts contain polyphenols that have been shown in studies to reduce C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein, or CRP, is a marker in the blood your doctor can test for. It's one of the clearest indicators of systemic inflammation in the body. High CRP over a long time is associated with joint deterioration, among other things. Walnuts consistently show up in the research as reducing it. A quarter cup of walnuts, roughly a small handful, is a reasonable daily amount. I keep a jar on my kitchen counter and eat them mid-morning, between breakfast and lunch, when I'd otherwise reach for something that doesn't serve me. Walnuts also go into oatmeal wonderfully. Toasted lightly in a dry pan, they develop a deeper, almost buttery flavor. I'll also chop them and fold them into a green salad with tart cherries. The combination is not just good for your joints, it's genuinely one of my favorite lunches. This one surprised me when I first read the research. Broccoli isn't just a generally healthy vegetable. It contains a specific compound that appears to do something quite direct in cartilage. The compound is called sulforaphane. It forms when you chew or chop broccoli. Two components in the cell structure combine, and sulforaphane is produced. That's interesting on its own. But here's the part that caught the attention of researchers at the University of East Anglia in England. Sulforaphane appears to block a specific enzyme called MMP13. This enzyme is one of the primary agents responsible for breaking down the collagen matrix in cartilage. Think of cartilage as a tightly woven mesh. MMP13 is the thing with scissors cutting through it. Sulforaphane, according to this research, gets in the way of those scissors. The research is still developing. Much of it has been conducted in cell and animal models rather than large human trials. So, I'll say this carefully. The evidence is promising, and the mechanism is credible. That's good enough for me to keep broccoli on the menu several times a week. Here's important. Sulforaphane is damaged by prolonged high heat. Boiling broccoli until it's soft destroys a significant amount of it. The best methods are light steaming, 5 minutes maximum, or eating it raw. There's also a trick. If you chop your broccoli and let it sit for about 40 minutes before cooking it, the sulforaphane has already been produced before the heat gets to it. Heat doesn't destroy it once it's formed, it only prevents it from forming. So, chop, wait, then cook. Easy enough. My grandmother always had garlic braids hanging in her kitchen. I thought it was decoration until I was old enough to understand what she was doing with them. They were her medicine as much as her cooking. Now, was it her mother who first started that habit? I think so. No matter. The point is, the practice goes back further than any of us. Garlic contains a compound called diallyl disulfide. When garlic is chopped or crushed, a precursor called alliin converts to allicin almost instantly. You'll recognize the smell. And from there, a range of active compounds form, including diallyl disulfide. Research suggests that diallyl disulfide helps inhibit some of the same cartilage-damaging enzymes that sulforaphane targets. It also appears to reduce interleukin-6. That's an inflammatory messenger in the body that's consistently elevated in people with arthritic joint conditions. The key, as with broccoli, is not overcooking it. Allicin, the precursor, is volatile. It disappears quickly with heat. The recommendation from the research is crush or mince your garlic and let it sit for 10 minutes before cooking. That 10-minute window allows the enzymatic conversion to complete before heat disrupts it. Several cloves a day is what the research generally points toward, and I hit that without trying. Garlic goes into almost everything I cook. Soups, roasted vegetables, salad dressings. Some evenings I roast a whole head in olive oil until the cloves are soft as butter, and I spread it on bread. Purely for pleasure. The joint benefits are a blessing on top. Raw garlic is more potent in terms of allicin content. I'll sometimes crush a clove and mix it into a salad dressing. An acid like lemon juice slows the degradation of the active compounds. It's sharper, yes, but it's the creator's pharmacy in its most concentrated form. Now, I said earlier that number 9 would surprise you, and here's why. Most people use bone broth. They buy it in cartons. They drink it from mugs in winter. But the part they throw away? The knuckles, the feet, the joints. Those are where the concentration of joint-supporting compounds is highest. When you simmer bones, especially knuckle bones, feet, and cartilage-rich joints, for a long time, something happens that carton broth simply cannot replicate. The collagen in those bones slowly breaks down into gelatin, and gelatin is rich in specific amino acids, glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, that are the literal building blocks your body uses to construct and repair cartilage. A randomized controlled trial published in Current Medical Research and Opinion found that collagen hydrolysate supplementation significantly reduced joint pain and supported cartilage metabolism in subjects with activity-related joint discomfort. And well-made bone broth delivers those same collagen peptides directly from food. The broth also contains small amounts of naturally occurring glucosamine and chondroitin, compounds that people spend considerable sums buying in supplement form. In broth made from cartilaginous bones, they're simply there, provided. I think about that every time I'm standing over the pot. I make bone broth the old-fashioned way, and I make it in volume. Into my large stock pot go chicken feet, knuckle bones. I get them from a local farm, along with onion, celery, carrot, garlic, apple cider vinegar, and cold water to cover. The vinegar helps draw minerals from the bones. That's a real chemistry principle, not just an old wives' tale. Then it simmers, low and slow. I aim for 12 to 24 hours. My slow cooker runs overnight and most of the next day. The longer, the richer, the more gelatin extracted. You know it's right when the cooled broth wobbles like Jell-O. I drink a mug of it daily, heated with a pinch of sea salt and cracked pepper. Some days I use it as the base for soups, for cooking grains, for braising vegetables. It's economical, it's deeply nourishing, and it's the kind of food your grandmother's grandmother would recognize immediately. There is wisdom in that continuity. Avocado has been trendy for a decade now, which means most people think they already know its story. They don't know this part. Beyond the healthy fat content, which is genuinely good for joint lubrication and for absorbing the fat-soluble compounds in other foods on this list, avocados contain something called avocado-soybean unsaponifiables. That's a mouthful, so the industry calls it ASU. And ASU has been studied specifically for osteoarthritis, to the point where it has been granted prescription status in France as a treatment for hip and knee OA, not a supplement, a prescription. The evidence suggests ASU may help stimulate collagen synthesis, encouraging the body to produce more of its own cartilage building material. and may reduce the activity of certain inflammation signals within joint tissue. This isn't marginal. It's specific enough to have crossed from food research into pharmaceutical research. Half an avocado a day is a practical goal. I eat it simply, sliced with a crack of salt and black pepper and a drizzle of olive oil, or mashed on whole grain toast in the morning with a squeeze of lemon to keep it from browning. The fat in avocado also helps your body absorb curcumin and the fat-soluble compounds in olive oil and other items on this list. I'll sometimes combine avocado and olive oil in the same meal, a salad dressed in olive oil with avocado slices. They complement each other in function as much as in flavor. That kind of elegance in design, I can't help but find it beautiful. Berries. I grow blueberries in the garden, 4 bushes along the south fence. They come in July, and I eat more of them than I probably should. No regrets. Here's why they deserve their place on this list. Blueberries and strawberries are both high in anthocyanins, those same pigment compounds we talked about in cherries, and quercetin. Quercetin is a compound that research links to inhibiting a broad range of inflammatory signals. It's one of the most studied plant compounds in existence. A 2018 review in Nutrients, a peer-reviewed nutritional science journal, found associations between berry consumption and reduced inflammatory markers, including CRP and interleukin-6, the same ones we keep seeing on this list. It's not a coincidence. The foods that protect joints are the same foods that protect the whole body. Fresh in season, frozen out of season, frozen berries retain their antioxidant content remarkably well. In some studies, frozen berries perform comparably to fresh because they're frozen immediately after harvest. A cup a day. That's the practical target. I add them to oatmeal, to yogurt, to smoothies. In winter, when my garden is under Oregon rain, a bag of frozen mixed berries in the freezer is as good as summer in a cup. Green tea. I drink 2 cups most days. Not because it's trendy. I've been drinking it since long before it was fashionable in this country, but because it has earned my respect in the research. The primary compound in green tea is called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate. Quite a name. I'll just say this. EGCG has been shown in multiple laboratory studies to block the degradation of cartilage triggered by interleukin-1 beta. Interleukin-1 beta is a specific inflammatory signal particularly associated with osteoarthritis progression. Think of it like a bouncer at the door of your cartilage cells. Interleukin-1 beta is the troublemaker trying to get in and cause damage. EGCG steps in front of it. That's a simplified picture of what multiple cell-level studies have observed. The critical note for green tea: water temperature matters. Very high heat accelerates EGCG degradation and causes it to convert to less active forms. The ideal brewing temperature is around 160 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just off the boil, where steam is rising, but there's no active rolling boil. I let my kettle cool for 2 to 3 minutes before pouring. 2 to 3 cups a day is what research protocols have commonly used. Matcha, the powdered whole leaf form, delivers substantially higher concentrations of EGCG because you're consuming the whole leaf, not just a brew. I keep both in the pantry. I want to share something from one of the oldest books ever written. The pomegranate is mentioned by name in the Bible, in Numbers, in Deuteronomy, in the Song of Solomon. It's described as one of the fruits of the Promised Land. That caught my attention long before the science did. Then the science showed up. Pomegranate contains compounds called L-glutanins. When your gut bacteria process L-glutanins, and this is the interesting part, they produce a metabolite called urolithin A. Urolithin A has attracted serious research attention from multiple institutions for its effects on cellular maintenance and inflammation. Separately, pomegranate extract itself has been studied directly for joint inflammation, with research from institutions including Thomas Jefferson University, showing suppression of inflammatory markers in arthritic tissue. The conversion to urolithin A depends partly on your individual gut microbiome. Not everyone produces it equally, but eating pomegranate consistently provides the raw material, and even before conversion, L-tannins themselves have direct antioxidant effects within joint tissue. Fresh pomegranate arils, the seeds, are available in the fall in most grocery stores. I add them to salads, to yogurt, to grain dishes. They add a brilliant color and a pop of tartness. A quarter cup to a half cup a day is a reasonable working quantity. Pomegranate juice also works. Look for unsweetened 100% pomegranate juice, 4 to 8 ounces daily. It's tart, worth it. Spinach is quiet about its credentials. It doesn't have the same dramatic reputation as some of the other items on this list, but it contains a flavonoid called camphorol that research consistently links to reduced inflammatory cytokine production, the signaling proteins that orchestrate the body's inflammation response. It also provides magnesium. Now, magnesium isn't typically discussed in joint conversations, but here's why it belongs. The muscles surrounding your joints bear a significant part of the load those joints would otherwise absorb. Magnesium is necessary for proper muscle contraction and relaxation. Deficiency is associated with chronic muscle tension, which in turn increases mechanical stress on joint surfaces. The indirect effect is real. A large handful of raw spinach wilts dramatically with any heat, which is why I also use it raw, in salads, or blended into smoothies. Cooked, it concentrates significantly. 1 cup raw becomes about a quarter cup cooked. Both forms are valuable. I grow spinach in a raised bed year-round. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we can get 2 full seasons from it, spring and fall. Something about cutting fresh leaves from the bed right before a meal, while the dew is still on them. That's a different kind of richness than anything you get from a bag. And we finish with something that might look like a tropical indulgence, but carries some very specific research behind it: pineapple. Specifically the core of the pineapple, the tough fibrous part that most people cut out and throw away. That core has the highest concentration of bromelain. Bromelain is a collection of protein-digesting enzymes found naturally only in pineapple that have been shown to reduce prostaglandin E2, one of the primary chemical messengers of inflammation and pain, particularly the kind triggered by physical activity and mechanical joint stress. Bromelain has been used in European clinical settings as a supportive agent for reducing post-surgical swelling and exercise-related inflammation. It's not a fringe observation. It's a compound with enough credibility to appear in conventional medical literature as an adjunct therapy. The part most people discard, the core, is the part with the most. And that has always struck me as one of the creator's quiet jokes, the treasure hiding in the throwaway. I keep the core, I blend it, I add it to smoothies with a handful of spinach, a cup of frozen berries, a knob of fresh ginger, and some tart cherry juice. That, right there, is a remarkable joint support drink that costs very little and takes 3 minutes to make. Bromelain is also available in supplement form and is most effective taken on an empty stomach when used for its anti-inflammatory effects specifically. That's when it's absorbed into the bloodstream rather than being used up in digesting food. But as a regular food, pineapple eaten consistently provides a meaningful ongoing contribution. 15 foods. And here's what I want you to hold on to from today. Your joints aren't passive structures that simply wear out with age. They are living tissue, responsive to what you feed them, what you reduce in your body, and what you refuse to let take hold. These foods work through real mechanisms, not magic, not mystery. They quiet inflammation signals, protect cartilage from the enzymes that degrade it, supply the building blocks for repair, and reduce the acid buildup that causes crystal-sharp pain in joint spaces. The science is there. It's been there for years. None of this replaces your doctor. If your joints are telling you something serious, listen to them and get them looked at. But these foods, you can start tonight with whatever's already in your kitchen. Now, here is my garden fence question for you today. And I'm genuinely asking, because the answers I get teach me as much as anything else. Which of these 15 foods are you already eating regularly? And which one, just one, are you going to add this week? Tell me in the comments. Be specific. If this reached you today, if something in here is useful, share it with someone you care about. That's how this channel grows. Subscribe if you haven't. There's more to talk about, and I'll be right back here. God bless you, folks. Take care of those joints. They've been carrying you a long time. They deserve the same care you'd give your garden. Consistent, patient, and from the soil up.